Sometimes it feels like a genuine blockage in my head of just like, well, I lost the streak, or well, I haven't done that in this much time, so I guess I'll never do it again. About 6 weeks ago, I was traveling for 3 weeks and I was staying in somebody else's home. There were some difficulties for me to be able to continue my rituals, my routines that help me have the day I want to have. The day before I left, actually, my sister and her children moved in with me. So when I came home, it was a completely different situation. Because of the difficulty I had following my routines while I was traveling and staying with other people, and then the difficulty of coming back into an environment that was not the one that I left behind where I was doing all these routines, it really has made it hard for me to get back into them. And so this video, I want to talk a little bit about what it looks like to actually kind of like reacclimate yourself, reintegrate your rituals and routines, your habits, even after you've fallen off. So like I fell off of stretching and my mobility routines, I fell off of meditating. And because I was not in the place that I currently live, I was not able to greet the water. And specifically, greeting the water is a ritual that I have encoded with the energy of, as I'm transitioning to my new set of realities, greeting the water was one of the ways that I ground myself in the energy that is resonant with where I'm going. So for those 3 weeks when I was not able to greet the water, I do think that there was a part of me that kind of fell off and has landed in this stuckness. And then when I came home, because of the shift, it's a completely different house structure, socially, energetically, emotionally. Because of that and other things, it has been really hard to kind of like resume the rituals that I was doing beforehand. I don't know why it is so hard. I mean, I can point to like neuroscience things, but it just, when you have like a really good streak and when you're feeling really good and you're in the pocket of whatever habit that you desire to have, and then it just breaks. Yeah, there's such a mental block that makes it feel like, well, I haven't done this in 3 weeks, so I guess I'll never do it again. I guess it's over. So I've been back for 2 weeks, and the first week was a lot. First of all, I was exhausted, I was overstimulated, and there's just a level, I think specifically, I don't understand why planes would be flying over me when I'm doing a video. Like, okay, so I think that there is a barrier of entry, a larger barrier of entry for certain neurodivergencies, or neurodivergent traits, I should say, for task switching. And task switching in the micro way, yes, but also in a grander way where I just came from, or when I had just come from being in a completely different environment, being at school for a lot of time, living in a completely different place. Like if you think of that as a macro version of task switching, there's so much there that makes the transition process and the reacclimation process a little bit harder for people with certain neurodivergent traits. And so I think it's really useful to just remind people of that and to offer yourself grace, because transitions might just be harder for you or take longer for you to get into the flow of. And that's okay. Like I am very sensitive to my environment, and because I'm so sensitive to it, when I switch from one place to another or one context to another, it just like, honestly, it could take me a month, it could take me 3 months to finally like catch a rhythm in that new space. And so the fact that I was moving from 3 different environments to come back to what was my normal but is now something else. It is taking me a long time to adjust to this. It's taking me a long time to be like, to figure out how to work around being a full-time aunt. So I think it's just valuable to remember that, right? To remember that you might take longer than you think is normal. I put the quotes on the wrong word there, but you might take longer than you think to adjust to newness, to adjust to what is present if it wasn't there before, or if it's different in any way from what was there before. And also, I do feel like recovery takes a long time. So not only am I in a new environment, technically, I also was for 3 weeks completely overstimulated because I was living in other people's space and trying to account for that. Like, that took up so much mental energy. And I was not able to ground myself for 3 whole weeks. It also warrants grace, that warrants compassion, and just being like, oh, right, like, things have been weird and my body is catching up to that. My brain is deciding how we want to move within that. That's almost even step 0, is just an acknowledgement that transitions, changes, like, you're sensitive to, well, I'm sensitive to task switching, and that exists on micro and macro levels. The second thing that I've been thinking a lot about is like self-judgment and how inefficient it is, actually. Like, it's a really energetically wasteful thing to do. And I recognize that me passing judgment on self-judgment is funny. There's some sort of Ouroboros situation going on there. But for me, I do really feel like there's like diminishing returns in self-judgment. So when I'm first experiencing self-judgment about having fallen off or feeling energetically weird and not knowing how to kind of pinpoint what specific thing to do or what's wrong, what I find useful is to like, okay, I'm experiencing the self-judgment. What do I want to do with this? Like, what is it trying to tell me? Oh, I want to be something else. I want to experience something else. And once I have discovered whatever utility, you could say, I can get out of the self-judgment, I'm almost immediately wanting to direct towards like, all right, so like, let's move there then. If I want to be more like this, then what are the steps? What are the experiences, the thoughts and beliefs that will help me move towards that, rather than sitting in that space of like, oh, I'm bad because I'm not this, or, oh, I really want this and I don't have it. Like, I think a lot about utility, perhaps too much, but I do feel like with self-judgment, there's a point of usefulness, and then we have to go towards solutions. And then probably the most tactical thought or tip that I'm going to add into this video is how I am actually restarting. What I have to remind myself of pretty often, honestly, is that like, I create a minimum viable routine on purpose. I always have a version of my desired habits that I could do, supposedly, on my worst day. And so in terms of greening the water, one of the things that has helped me to get back into it in this past week is like literally just walking to a spot where I can see it and going like, hi, it's me again. And then turning around and walking back home and allowing that to be enough. Right now, evidently, I've been sitting at the water for like 20 or 30 minutes, and that's not always accessible to me every day, but I can always walk over or bike over to a spot where I can see it and say hi and allow that to be enough. And as you lower the barrier of entry for your routines, you make it easier to say yes, right? in a given moment. Oh, I'm really tired, or oh, I'm da da da, but I can walk the 5 minutes. Just say hi and turn around, and it's okay. It's enough. I think that when we are restarting, we can't expect to go back to where we were at our peak. We have to put in the reps to just make it feel automatic, make it feel like an automatic yes. And then when it starts to get automatic again, then we can start adding in the difficulty. Or not the difficulty, but we can add layers to it. We can make it a 20-minute sit down. And all of this is to say that I know that restarting is really hard. And what you can do for yourself is consistently lower the barrier of entry, lower the sort of standard of achievement of that particular habit or routine so that you can do it. Habits, rituals, and routines are most useful, most effective when you get that compounding effect, that compounding benefit of showing up for it consistently. That doesn't have to be every day, but consistently, reliably for you. And the only way that you can sustainably show up for a habit or a routine is through having versions of that thing, versions of that action that respond to your capacity. So if you have super high capacity, if I have a lot of time in the day, yeah, I can spend an hour greeting the water, communing, praying, whatever. But if I, for example, have a 12-hour shift, yeah, I'm gonna need to just say hello, give my little offering, and be on my way immediately. No time for chit chat, actually. And I think just sitting back into that, allowing that to be enough, has really made it easier for me to take up the practices that then feed me with more energy so that I can show up more fully in other aspects of life. Oh, even actually, I completely forgot about this, but like even at restarting YouTube, I was really nervous about restarting YouTube because of there's something about the like, I have this thing in my head of like, oh, well, once I restart this, like it has to be forever or I'll just never do it again. And it's like, no, what are the ways that I can do it? So I felt a little bit more comfortable starting with shorts. Like I don't have 10 minutes of video in me, but maybe I have 3 minutes of video in me. So I was starting with shorts and getting myself back up into that. So that's another example of like lowering the standard of achievement, is because 10 minutes of content felt like more than I had capacity for. I tried for 2, I tried for 3 minutes just to reacclimate to talking to camera in this way, but also to come back into the space, into YouTube, without having to commit like full Nelson. I don't know why wrestling is so present in my mind right now. Just to recap, hold compassion for that macro level task switching and how sensitive you might be to shifts and transitions in that way, how sensitive you might be to restarting. Make sure that you are extracting what is useful from self-judgment and then moving towards solutions instead of just stewing. And then lastly, lower the barrier of entry into your routines. And that might be, hi, is an ant. And that might be requiring less of your routines and habits. Like I said, I had 8 that I was doing very consistently that I ideally do, but right now I'm solid with just 3 of them, and I'll build my stamina back to get to all 8 again, or maybe I won't, whatever. That's the whole point, to be flexible and noticing what is valuable, what is available. So you can either lower the number of habits that you are trying to get back into, or you can lower the barrier of entry, the standard of achievement for each one. So what is the smallest version of that action, of that ritual that you can do that still allows you to get the feeling and the benefits that you generally get from it? You want to hear more about how you can shape your morning routines to follow your capacity, to follow your interests, and be dynamic as opposed to the same thing every day? You can check out this video right here, and I'll see you in the next one.